Oh, we're on? We're on. Okay, hi everybody. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. Hope you had a great week. We're about to start again on another live stream. The reference is right there, of course, on the left of the screen. And my wife is here with me. Say hi.
Hi.
Okay, and I see we have someone here early, right?
Oh, okay. Yes, we have. Oh, it says greetings from Azerbaijan.
Azerbaijan. I hope I said that right too. So greetings from the Bronx. I am. Oh wait, this is too early to start this. Let me go ahead and start my drawing. So I guess everyone else, there's the reference. Please feel free, draw along, paint along. I'm going to be doing acrylic gouache and painting on what is this? This is Stonehenge craft paper. Very nice. It's not craft paper, actually. It's 100% cotton. Very nice rag paper made by Stonehenge. So I'm going, and it's toned. So I'm going to be starting on that, and I'm using, like I said, acrylic gouache. You can use whatever you want. You can use pencil, digital, gouache, acrylic. It's up to you. Okay, so let's go ahead and start right in, and I'm going to start drawing. So, and I just want to say hi to everybody. I know sometimes some people get here a little later. We're starting to build up a nice community, which I like, and I hope to hear from you guys when you join us. So. So what I was going to say? Oh, I just a little house cleaning here. I just want to remind everybody, I have this fall I'm going to be teaching. I'll probably mention this again as we close out whatever. This fall I'm going to be teaching a class at the Penn Studio Art School. The link is below, right below, and so I'm going to be teaching gouache portrait the first 4 weeks, which is every Saturday at every Saturday at I think at 11. Starting early on Saturdays. I am going to start with drawing. The first 4 weeks concentrating on drawing, and then the last 4 weeks we will get into paint. And the whole I'm trying to concentrate on this drawing as I'm talking. The whole program, I give a description of it on the Penn Studio on the Penn Studio page that I have there. So when you click below, you'll see it'll go over the what the course is, and it'll also describe the materials we'll be using for the course, and so forth. So just give a look, and like I said, it'll be in the fall, so it'll be at the September to the beginning of October every Saturday. And the classes they know everybody can't make it according to that schedule every time. Things come up, so what they have is that once you sign up, the class will be available to view up to a month. If you can't make it to the live class, the class will be available to view up to a month after the last class. So you have so everybody has time to view it at their leisure. Okay. I this small because there's a lot more hair than there is head. So maybe I want to come down a little bit and make sure I can fit the hair inside. You gonna say something?
No.
Okay. Well, I've used this paper for painting. I haven't even stopped and thought about using this for drawing. Just, I think it lends itself to a lot of things.
Maritza joins us. She says
Oh.
hello.
Okay, hi Maritza. Okay. Maritza, you just joined, so I'm just letting you know I am going to be using acrylic gouache, and I'm painting on Stonehenge craft paper. Okay, so I'm getting ready to break out the paints in a few. Just wanna make sure I get all these big shapes in. Okay, that looks good enough to start. So I got because I'm using acrylic gouache and they kind of tend to dry up pretty quickly. I'm going to wet a paper towel and put it on my palette so I can squeeze out the paints there to prevent them from drying up too fast. So, and I'm going to be using a Zorn palette. A Zorn palette is basically a limited palette where I use 4 colors, and then I add, in addition to the 4 colors, cerulean blue. So they're going to be ivory black, cadmium red medium, okay. And usually it's, I think, in Zorn was a painter in the early 1900s in Spain, and no, not Spain. I'm thinking Sorolla. Zorn was, gosh, I forgot what country he was from, but he was a painter, and there are 3 painters, which is probably why I got it mixed up, who are kind of closely associated in the way they painted, was John Singer Sargent, Joaquin Sorolla, and Zorn. Zorn, and this palette was something that was attributed to him, that he would paint in this limited palette. So that's why it's called the Zorn palette. So I have it, ivory black, cadmium red medium, which for Zorn would have probably been vermilion, another type of red, and yellow ochre, and cerulean blue, and what kind of white? This is white. This is titanium white. Okay, so that's what I'm going to use today.
Okay, well let me ask you, is it Anders Zorn?
Anders Zorn, yes.
Okay, I looked it up, Swedish painter.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So there's several advantages to using a limited palette. One of them is that it keeps you from having to you just got these few colors to choose from, so it helps you to be just not have too many choices as far as mixing the colors, and you use what's there, and so that's one advantage. The other thing is it's less money. I wonder if for Zorn, at least in the beginning, he was a very, very successful painter. If both those things came into play, at least in the beginning. Now, one of the reasons why Zorn didn't really include a blue. Was it ivory black? It's kind of a bluish black. So that'll cool down the color. But for me, it's not enough. I still need that blue. So I add the cerulean to help out with that.
I'm really excited to see what you're going to do with this portrait, with this model. It's just so much to work through. Just the hair and the coat and the scarf.
Well, I'm going to do my best to simplify everything, not to get into too much of the details.
Okay.
You know. Oops, lost the brush there. It's okay. In case you haven't noticed, I am treating this pretty much like a watercolor. Just building up transparent layers, but knowing that I'm also going to come back in there and eventually it's, with opaque layers of color.
Okay. Well, we have P. Taylor with us, and that individual said, hey, and I'm going to have to come back for a replay. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, okay. All right, Pete. So I want to ask that if you are painting and drawing along with me, um, just try and give an indication of what it is that you're doing. Like, what are you painting with? Are you drawing? Are you painting? Is it digital? Is it traditional? Is it pencils? Charcoal? What have you? Just give me an indication. I'd be curious to know as far as what it is that other people are doing. Oh, that is too red. Okay. It's probably too light, but I can change it as I go along.
Okay. Well, Kenya responds to your question, I believe. She says, yes, I'm working on a birthday present for my best friend who's stationed overseas. She has a one-eyed car with a giant, is that a car or do you mean cat? Cat. With a giant scar on her face. I'm painting her cat as a pirate in oils.
That sounds cool. Sounds fun.
Yeah, she said, I meant to say cat. One-eyed cat. And Maritza says, I'm trying to paint with you.
Oh, cool. So you're using gouache, Maritza? Is that what it is? So I'm not worried about the glasses right now. The glasses are just a detail that I can save for last. I'm more concerned about getting the face in and the features with it.
Okay, well, Maritza says yes, I'm painting with gouache.
Oh, terrific. Oh, we didn't hear from Kumar yet, right?
No, he hasn't, reached us, talked to us, reach out to us. And there's also Mr. Vic. We haven't heard from Mr. Vic.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
And Kenya, you must like painting in oils. Do you like painting in oils?
Is that a question?
No, that's a question. Remember, she had just told us she's doing a portrait for her best friend.
I love painting in oils. I haven't painted in oils for quite some time, though. I had initially stopped painting in oils when my children were born, and they were young, and I didn't want them around all those solvents, and I didn't want them to eat the paint either. So I stopped painting in oils for a time. They are no longer young. One is 21 and the other is 19, will be 20 in next month. Next month will be his birthday. So I'm free to paint in oils. I just haven't started yet. And I love oil painting.
Okay. Well, Kenya tells us, yes, I love painting in oils. I love how forgiving it is. It was super intimidating when I first started, but now I enjoy it more than other paints, I think.
That's good. That's good.
Okay.
I agree with you.
Kenya's talking about her typing. Surely not, Kenya, surely not. I understand what you're saying.
Now, I'm not going to get into every curl. I'm going to try to give an indication of these curls, and but what I'm going to do is really try and work on the mass of the hair and give it an indication of that. When I haven't used acrylic gouache too much, but one of the things that I'm seeing is even more so than regular gouache is that the acrylic gouache seems to dry a lot lighter than when you first put it on. And I know that gouache does that. I'm surprised that this one, that acrylic gouache, is not only doing that, but doing it more so than regular gouache. You know, it's an adjustment you have to make, because you know, you put the color down, you expect it to be a certain thing, and then when it dries as something totally different from what you initially put on. But that's just the nature of this particular medium, and it's just something to get used to. Another thing is that it dries very quickly. It dried on my palette. The mixed colors did.
Okay. What can you ask? Can you explain the different types of gouache?
Well, as far as I know, there's only two that are being made right now. There's well, no. Let me backtrack a little bit. There is gouache. There's designer gouache, and there's artist gouache. And the difference in the two is that one was made for designers. It wasn't made to last. Like, it uses a lot of fugitive colors. Like, it doesn't matter that that the colors last. Excuse me. They only needed it for a project or something. They didn't need it to like hang in a museum and last forever, or however long things do last. So it was made for designers, mostly textile workers, doing patterns and stuff, for tiles, for clothes, for whatever. Then there's artist gouache. Now those were made with the professional artist in mind, and those, even though you have to still be careful, there are colors that are what you call fugitive, and all fugitive means is that a color is sensitive to light. So when it's exposed to a lot of light for a period of time, that color will fade on the painting. So it doesn't last. And colors like that, a good example would be alizarin crimson, which was a popular color that artists used. But what happened was, when you use that color, over time, the color would fade away from the painting. And so it was called fugitive. Now, there are alternatives to that. You could always use a different type of red that comes close to alizarin crimson, because it was a very popular color for artists. I used it for a long time when I was a student. But get back to your question. So there's designer gouache, and you know what? Just to let you know, designer gouache could still be good. Not all of the colors are fugitive, and stuff like or brands like Winsor and Newton, which is a professional brand. It's called designer's gouache, but it's very good stuff, and professional artists and illustrators have used that for years. So it's good. You just have to understand color, and usually when you buy a tube of color, let me see if this does it right here. This is Turner. Okay, I don't see it here, but usually there's indicated on the tube how light fast the color is. So you'll be getting a color that will either fade or will remain for but won't fade in the light. So I would check when you buy the color. I know there are manufacturers who put that on their tubes of paint. Manufacturers like Holbein. Holbein is another good company that sells good artist gouache. Winsor and Newton. They'll indicate on their particular paint how light fast that particular color is. So you have that. Then in addition to that, there's designer gouache, there's artist gouache. Now in addition to that, there's student grade gouache. And they're not labeled as student grade. They're just labeled as gouache, so you got to be careful. Ordinarily, when you go shopping for these paints, store, say like over here we have Dick Blick, they'll let you know whether or not you know, you're buying a student grade or you're buying a professional, uh, um, professional grade uh, product. You know, so that's something to look out for. You don't want student grade because student grade, um, even as a student, you don't want student grade, to be honest with you, because student grade will give you a lot of, you know, paint will have a lot of fillers in it. So it wouldn't behave the same way. It wouldn't behave the same way, and it'd be much harder to work with, and really can put you out of painting with a particular type of paint if you're not buying a good brand. So I would stay away from student versions of gouache. They're not made to last. They definitely do not work as well as the ones that are made, obviously for professionals, or for fine artists. I would stick to artist grade. You know, save yourself a lot of headaches. And then, you know, the only thing after that would be, of course, there is designer's gouache, or, you know, regular gouache, what really is gouache, where then there's the new thing, which is acrylic gouache, which is really more acrylic than gouache, just acrylic that kind of, when it dries, maybe it's overcompensating, I see from what I'm painting here, in terms of just being flat like gouache, you know, as opposed to being glossy and shiny and so forth. But it's actually more acrylic than gouache. And I believe that's it as far as the different types of gouache.
Okay, well, we have someone, Najo, Najo, and he says, hey, I would love to see you paint an urban scene, such as New York City or Vegas. Any chance you would do that and sell it?
Well, I'm always open to selling something, but that would take some time, and I believe more time than I would have at on a live stream. That would probably be something of a video that's not a live stream. You know, just one of the other videos that I post, and yeah, I mean, I live in New York, so that, you know, would be pretty easy in terms of finding the subject matter. One of my favorite things to do is the subway paintings. I love doing painting people, or painting passengers on the subway. As was something that I always did when I went to high school. I was, if you know New York City, I was born in the outer boroughs, in the Bronx, and so I used to have to commute to Manhattan for my high school, which was the High School of Art and Design. So I would ride the trains every day, and what I would do a lot of times was to draw my fellow passengers, while they were sleeping or while they was reading a newspaper or a book or otherwise occupied. I would draw them. And I continued to do that, like when I had a job that I would have to work in Manhattan, and I would be on the train. I would again just take out my sketch pad and draw people. Something I used to do quite a bit.
Well, Nigel said, I bought 2 of your previous videos and would really like more from you. Please consider it, as I would really like to see it.
Oh, okay.
Well, an urban scene, I guess for New York, an urban scene would be something like the Empire State Building, or is that an urban scene?
Yeah, it sure is.
Or George Washington Bridge, or, well, there's so many pictures of bridges, or, what was I thinking? I was thinking, well, Madison Square Garden. There's a lot of urban scenes.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, Nigel said, yeah, like Madison Avenue or Times Square, etc.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
that Manhattan scene.
Yeah. When you go to the Times Square area, I mean, the saying, the city, New York City, the city that never sleeps, is really true to its words when you go to Times Square all times in the morning. It truly is busy and bustling, and you'd be surprised even at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So.
You know what was like that a lot? Paris. I've been to Paris, and I remember when I arrived there early in the morning, it looked like Manhattan at midday.
Oh, really? You did?
Yeah. I mean, people were walking and moving about in the street, and it was very, very busy.
Okay. When Nejo says, I'm from Europe, what other Europe countries have you seen?
I have been to Paris. I have been to Germany. I was in Mannheim and Heidelberg, Germany. You know, there were a few places I would have liked to have visited as well. The two big places on my list would have been Spain and Italy. I would have loved to have seen them, especially visiting places like the Sistine Chapel and so forth. But when I was in Paris, I got to go to the Louvre. That was a must-see for any artist. You know, I spent time there, and yeah, that was basically the only museum I visited at the time. I was in Germany, really not, and my brother and I decided to take a trip up to France, you know, as long as I was there. So I was there with my brother. This was many, many, many years ago. You know, had a great time. Apart from traveling outside of the country like that, the only place that's, even though it's a part of the United States, it's very different. I've been to Puerto Rico twice. It's the place where my parents were born. So I visited there 2 times. That was a little bit different because whereas in Paris, you know, I was really a tourist in Paris and Germany. In Puerto Rico, I went to see family. Well, this paint is a bit strange to me, the way it behaves. There's some things that it's doing that I just never expected. Like some of the ways this stuff dries. It's very different. It's not bad, just different. And it's a bit of a learning curve. Well, I think I'm beginning to understand this paint a little bit more. I think the thing is, the less water you use, the more control you have of the paint. And it seems to be with the paint being more paint, you can get an idea of what is it going to dry like, or how close to what you initially put down is going to remain.
Okay, well, Nejo is continuing the conversation
Sure.
with you. He says, nice. I've been to Paris also once.
Okay.
And I've been to the United States on vacation several times, mostly California and New York City in 2016. Maybe a street scene of Paris.
Mm-hmm. So, where are you from in Europe?
Remember, he said he was from Europe.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm saying, where in Europe is he
Where
from?
in Europe? Okay. Ireland.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay. Well, he wants to know, what is your view on why gouache is underutilized by most artists?
Well, the thing is that the big thing is oil paints. Oil paintings seem to hold the most value as far as all the paints. Watercolors don't come close to what people would ordinarily pay for an oil painting. You know, there might be some exceptions according to a particular artist, but for the most part, the big medium has been oil paints. I don't know where acrylics figure in all of this. But I know as far as, and I'm talking like gallery paintings, uh, illustrations and stuff like that. You use what you want to use, you know. Um, but as far as gallery paintings are concerned, um, the big the big one is oils, right? And I don't know what would follow as a second. I tend to believe that it would be watercolors. Um, Gouache, for some reason, um, does not um, does not garner the same respect as these other mediums do. And if you ask me why, I haven't got a clue. I haven't got a clue. I know that if you look at art history, a lot of artists painted in gouache, and that includes guys like famous American painters I know, like Winslow Homer. I can't think of. I think Trout. I don't know if Trout Richards was an American painter or European painter, but he was a popular painter of landscapes. Then you have, your Renaissance painters. Dürer used gouache. A lot of the paintings that are attributed to him as watercolors are actually gouache paintings, and they're not transparent watercolor at all. You know, things like the great piece of turf, his painting of the hare, his painting of bird's wing. That these are the things that are properly called watercolor, but in actuality, when examining them, they're gouache. They're not watercolor at all. So, so it's a medium that's used by fine artists, by some of the top artists, and it's for whatever reason, it's not given its due. And people usually associate it, and wrongfully so, with like the poster paints that you would use in kindergarten, or just the stuff that you would use in school, but they are not gouache. They have shared similar properties to gouache, but they're not the paints that were used by someone like Dürer or someone like Winslow Homer, or Anders Zorn, who used gouache a lot. Even if you examine some of Turner's paintings, some I know in Europe, one of the things is that they to paint watercolors in Europe, it's what they mean is to paint in traditional watercolor, that is transparent watercolor, and not in gouache at all. But if you examine Turner's paintings, Turner used gouache in his paintings. Turner wasn't, and so did Sargent. Sargent used gouache in his paintings, in his watercolors. It might not be extensively, but it's definitely there. But you get into trouble with purists who say, oh, you can't use gouache, it has to be just watercolor. Well, and then the hypocrisy is that the heroes that they hold up use gouache in their watercolors. So but to answer your question, I haven't a clue as to why gouache does not, hold the respect that, at least the respect that it used to have, you know, um, while it was used by very prominent painters.
Okay, well, Maritza says, I like the skin tones that you did. I still find it difficult to identify tones, and she put scales of the skin. Does that mean shade or scales of the skin?
Scales, I'm not sure what scales. I would, gosh, don't see skin tones as you know paints paint a person as if you were painting an ocean or a rock or a tree, or you look at the color and you try to get the colors right, actually the values are what you try to get right. I wouldn't worry about too much about skin tones. Because if you look at what I have here, there are a lot of purples. There are a lot of, there's not what you would call like a skin tone. One of the worst colors that were put out by any manufacturer was something called flesh colors. It's kind of, it's kind of dumb because there is no one flesh color. Color. What color is just the effect of light that's bouncing around in space. So you might have a base, a local color to your face, but mixed in there is the colors that are bouncing around all over the place. There are colors that are bouncing around from the clothes that you wear. If you see, she has a light gray coat, and in that light gray coat, you look at her chin, and on her chin you might pick up some of that gray color that's bouncing from that light, because the light is shining on that coat. It's hitting that coat, and then it's bouncing back up to her face. So and that's what light does. And so the color that you try to look at the color that you see, and not the color that you would expect to see.
Okay, well, but Pudding is with us. He was saying that watercolor is harder to use than oils, and that oils are very forgiving.
Yeah, that is true. And that is true about watercolors and about oils. But you know what? There's everything has its challenges. And some people take to watercolor and I tend to agree with you. I have an easier time with oil paint than I do with watercolor. It's just easier to use, but I've seen people who do the opposite. Their watercolor paintings are light years ahead of their oil paintings. It's just what you feel comfortable with.
Okay. Well, Nejo says your work is fantastic. Do you sell many paintings? And could you please recommend a brush type size for gouache?
Um, I don't sell many paintings. I've done paintings, I've sold paintings, and I've done illustration work, but I haven't sold too many paintings. But thank you. Uh, um, I generally, as far as brush size, I tend to use the medium sized brushes more and try to hold off on going any smaller until until I've exhausted everything I can do with a medium sized brush. So I avoid going into details sooner than I have to. I try to develop the painting from the big parts, and eventually find my way to the smaller details. What's that?
Nigel want to know how you met me.
Ah, the story of how we met. You want to tell the story?
No, you tell it.
Okay. We were going, at the time, we were going to the same church, and I met her at church, and we started out as friends, and our relationship grew from there. Yeah. So.
Can I tell them something that you did that impressed me?
Oh, go ahead.
Don't be afraid. I'm not gonna say anything. Crazy. What happened? We were really good friends, and my husband. Wow. At the time he was just in love with me. So what he did is he knew I liked this artist. Her name is Anita Baker. And I don't know if anybody remember Anita Baker. She came out with a few songs, really good songs. And he bought 2 tickets. And he said to me, here are the 2 tickets. You can invite whoever you want. I just want to give these tickets to you. Well, I was floored. I was like, listen, you're my best friend. Who else could I go with but you? That was my heart, at the time. But I was so impressed that he gave me tickets to a concert. And he was telling me I could invite whoever I wanted. And that impacted me a lot. You know, that told me he was a true friend. You know, and so I always say to other people when they ask me about my husband, I said I married my best friend. I really did. So there we go.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
It was a nice concert.
Yeah, it was. It was a good concert. Okay.
I'm glad I got to go.
You glad you got to go? Oh, okay. All right. Well, Domenico had chimed in. He said, "Oils are for sure the quintessential among traditional media, but personally, I can't stand the brushes cleaning."
Oh, I know what you mean.
All right. Do you have some tips on how to clean them? Beautiful work, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I haven't used oils in a while, and in that time, people are telling me they don't even bother cleaning their brushes anymore. There are several things that people do, and also they like at the time when I was painting, the typical thing to use was like some kind of solvent, either turpentine or what do you have? Mineral spirits. You use to clean your brushes, right? And then when you finish the painting, of course, the final cleaning would be done with soap and water. What I'm hearing now is people are bystepping that and not bothering to clean their brushes at all. They rather and not using mineral spirits. They use things like walnut oil to clean the brushes, or linseed oil to clean the brushes. And if they want to thin the paints, instead of using turpentine like we used when I was painting, they use either linseed oil or walnut oil. So it's different now, and I've even seen there's an artist, I can't remember his name, and his last name was something like Broadwick, Scott Broadwick, and what he did was that he after he finished painting, he would wrap his brushes in plastic, and that'll keep them from drying out, and so when next he used it, he would just simply just take it out of the plastic and begin using them. Now, none of these I've tried. This I've heard people have done, and to me, I'm like you. I wasn't crazy. Cleaning the brushes was not my favorite part. It's something that I have to explore myself, because things have changed since I've painted in oils.
Okay. Well, Maritza had said, "My works are very gray, lifeless. I think it's the fear of using the wrong colors. I learned a lot from you. Thank you."
Oh, I'm glad you did. Thank you. One of the things, though, as we keep going, just to let you know, I mean, we want to keep doing this. We really do. As far as the this live stream is concerned, I enjoy it. My wife enjoys it.
Yeah, I do.
There are several ways you can support us or support this channel in helping us do this. And one is, I have a Patreon page, and on that Patreon you can join. It's there's like a $3 tier and a $1 tier, and you know, accordingly you get like for the $1 tier, there's a sketchbook that I send as a PDF every month of the drawings I did that particular month. There are videos, that are available on that site that aren't available anywhere else. There are like for the $3 tier, there's a monthly high-res download of something that I did that particular month. So it's just for $3 or $1 a month. You could help support what it is that we're trying to do, and we're just trying to enjoy this time with everybody, make friends, paint, share knowledge, and so forth. Another thing is on the site itself. There's below. There's on the chat. There's the super chat where you can donate whatever you feel helps, or whatever you're able to. So those are just ways that you can support what we do. In addition to that, I mentioned this in the beginning. I want to remind everyone that I do have a class coming up in September at the Penn School of Art. The link for that class is below, and I will be teaching this fall painting portraits in gouache, and I'd have a lot more time to teach and to do similar to what I do here, but with a lot more time and a lot more directness as far as being able to work with you to help you with your gouache painting. And we're also thinking about, and I'll throw this out there, holding a workshop on Zoom at maybe towards the end of July, beginning of August, around that time. And we're not sure, but we're throwing it out there, just trying to see if anybody would be interested in a workshop. If anybody is, please let me know. Either if you're watching this live, or if you're watching this later on and you want to let us know, you can leave it in the comments below.
Okay, well, Comic, we are seeing that Comic and stuff is joining us. He said hello to you and the wife.
Hi.
Looks awesome, Gil.
Thank you.
And Nigel says, haha, smooth. He was talking about the story about the concert tickets. Yeah, he was smooth. He won my heart over. And Comic and stuff said that was a charming story.
Thank you.
Yeah, he really did win my heart over. And after 20-some years,
Yep.
Yeah.
20-something years.
24 this year. 24 this year. It'll be 24. And Nigel just wanted to know, will the class be streamed, and can I buy it in Ireland?
I'm pretty sure it will. The link is below. So what the class will be, we will have the class on certain days. It's going to be on Saturdays in the morning, around 11 o'clock. I'm not sure what that time would be in Ireland. But what also would happen if you can't make it to the live class, the classes will be available online for up to a month afterwards, so that you would be able to watch it at your own leisure. So because we know not everybody can make that time, and there are people that are living in different time zones, but I don't think there would be a problem. Again, that would be something that you would have to ask the school, but I think that as long as you're able to, as long as you have an internet connection, and just sign up, I think that you should be fine. Well, it's just to reiterate, it's not a brick and mortar class. Even though it is a brick and mortar school, I will be teaching the class online. Oh, the time is slipping away.
That's what happens when you're having fun.
Yeah. Now let me just hit a background on this thing. So. Oh, by the way, the link for the Patreon page is below.
Okay, well, before you go into that, comics and stuff says presently taking a course where I use oils on acrylics, but definitely planning on taking your gouache upcoming course as well. Can you give us a description of the workshop plan and if it will be online?
Okay, well, we're thinking about doing a workshop. It's more like in the planning stages because my wife and I discussed it last night, and it would be um, it would be on Zoom, and I was thinking of it being in my mind. If I can give you an idea of what I have in my mind, I was thinking of it being like a 3-day course, like have it for 3 days, a 3-day workshop. And in this workshop, the first thing I would probably touch on is drawing. I would probably, because for in my mind, from what I see, where things where students have the most problem with is drawing, is things like proportion, getting the proportions right, and you know, just getting the right the axis of the head. It's going to be portraits, again, the axis of the head, and things like that. So I'm going to probably, first day would probably focus more on drawing than actual painting. Then I would move on from there, and before I even discuss color, I would discuss value, because that's the other thing. If your drawing is right and your values are right, then that's more than half the battle there. If your values are right and your drawing is right, then you know what, color matters less. Actually, you know, the value is more important than the color. So what value, you know, as long as you, and value, all value means is the lightness or the darkness of a particular color. So you can paint your values in grays, you know, and see it in black and white. And if you get that right, then your color, you understand the relationship of a color to its value, then you will, you know, you will have greater success with your painting. It doesn't even matter what color you use, as long as your values are right. So that's one thing I was thinking. The other thing is that when I go into the actual painting, I would be thinking of things like limited palettes, like the palette that I'm using right now. I got all of this with just ivory black, cadmium red, yellow ochre, cerulean blue, and white. So just using those colors, just those 5 colors. It's a variation of the Zorn palette. Zorn would use 4 colors, but I added the cerulean blue because I didn't think the ivory black would be a sufficient enough cool color. I still needed the blue, you know. So I would be thinking of things like that as part of the lesson. To you know, so those would be the areas I would concentrate on: the drawing, the values, and then finally the color.
Okay. Well, but Claudine, are you familiar with Paul Bonner's work?
The name sounds very familiar. The name sounds very familiar.
Okay. Well, while you're thinking about that, Comic and Stuff had responded. He said, of course, I'm interested in your workshop as well, especially if I can attend via Zoom. I like what you're thinking about, how to do your workshop.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And so, Paul Bonner.
Yeah, the name sounds familiar.
Okay, it says here. I looked it up. He's a fantasy artist.
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have example of his work there?
Let's see. Let me look up. Let's see. This is one example.
Okay, let me see something. Oh. Oh.
Okay. He says Bonner does fantasy illustrations in watercolors, mostly goblins and things.
Yes, I definitely seen his work before.
Mm.
I've definitely seen his work before. Yeah, terrific artist. I love fantasy illustration. Um, my first love, or how I got it into painting and drawing to begin with, was the work of comic book artists like John Buscema. Was my favorite artist at the time. Of course, I looked at Frazetta, Boris, Neil Adams, guys like that. Those are the guys that I grew up with. Those were the artists from my time as a comic book collector, and you know, and so forth. I see a lot of different guys now, and I don't collect comic books the way I used to. It's just a different time, for me. But there are guys that I see even now doing terrific work as far as that is concerned. But for my era, for my time, the big names were, for me anyway, were Buscema, Adams, Gene Colan, guys like that. That was my time. And I like also looking at the people who influenced them. So I would look at guys from the past like Milton Caniff. Caniff was a big influence, especially on guys like John Romita Sr. Who else? Alex Raymond, guys like that. Hal Foster. So those were when I was younger. Those were my big influences.
Uh-huh. Well, Comic and Stuff said, "Don't get me started on comics." Hence, Comic and Stuff.
Yeah, I got you. I got you. Well, it was a big love for me, guy. And it still is. I mean, the problem is that my big love is mostly in the past, as far as the artist that I enjoy looking at, and still do. Matter of fact, Mr. Comics and Stuff, because I went to the High School of Art and Design, I got to meet a lot of the guys who later became pretty popular comic artists as well. They were older than me, but I got to meet them because of we had the same teachers. So I got to meet guys like Mark Teixeira. I got to meet Joe Rubenstein. I got to meet Javier Saltires. I got to meet these guys, and I got to know them because of the school we were a part of. Also got to know a lot of people who became well-known fine artists because of the school where I was a part of. Guys like Rick Mujica, Garen Baker. My one of the instructors I had there was Max Ginsberg. You know, all very popular artists now. So I think it's going to be time for me to stop now. Is it that time?
It's about that time.
It's about that time. Okay, I'm going to. Yeah, we've been going for a while. Well, listen, if you've been here this long, thank you. I'm very glad to have you guys here. We are going to be here next Saturday as well. So please join us again for our live stream. Well, painting came out okay. It's not that bad, you know.
You know what? No, you outdone yourself. It's excellent.
Well, I'm not used to this paint, and so it didn't behave the way I wanted it to. But the fault is not the paint. The fault is I just got to get better at using it. So, and you know, the hair probably needs to come out a little bit more. Maybe some things I'll fix later on. But I did promise last week that I was going to post the painting that I did because I didn't have enough time to complete it. The painting that I did last week. If you go to the community page on my YouTube channel, you will see the painting posted there. I also used it for the thumbnail for this live stream. So listen, thank you so much. I hope you guys did some great painting or some great drawing yourselves and enjoyed your time. And please be back here next Saturday where we'll do this all over again. All right? Okay. All right. See ya. Okay.